Two patrol officers stop a lone driver, ready to assert their authority. However, what they didn't expect was that the person behind the wheel wasn't just any driver, but their new superior, Commissioner General Naomi Carter. What happened next? Stay with us to discover a fascinating story of prejudice, consequences, and redemption. Naomi Carter had always been a woman of serene determination. After years of relentless effort, today marked her first day as Commissioner General in the dynamic city of Willow Ridge, a position she had worked tirelessly for. She had overcome a system that seemed designed to keep people like her out. As Naomi drove down the winding road into the heart of the city, with the morning sun casting a soft golden glow, her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. Today should have been a celebration, but a sense of unease lingered. Willow Ridge wasn't just any city, it had a reputation for being deeply traditional. The local police department had been under scrutiny for consistent reports of bias, especially toward minorities. Naomi knew that many officers were unhappy with her appointment, an African-American woman in command. As she approached a red light, Naomi saw flashing red and blue lights in her rearview mirror. A patrol car had pulled up behind her with sirens blaring. Naomi instinctively pulled over to the side of the road, her pulse quickening. Two officers got out of the car, the senior officer, a burly man in his 40s, walking toward her. The younger officer followed closely behind, his face filled with suspicion. Naomi rolled down her window, her face calm but fully alert. The senior officer scanned her car and then her ID and registration, speaking in an impersonal tone. Naomi remained silent, knowing that sometimes silence was the most effective strategy. The senior officer narrowed his eyes but said nothing. The younger officer, however, wasn't so discreet. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his tone filled with distrust. "This sector isn't the safest, if you know what I mean." Naomi's stomach churned, but her face remained composed. "I'm going to work," she said. "Where exactly?" the younger officer insisted, taking a step closer with a smile that implied he'd already judged her. Naomi hesitated. She could reveal her position right then and there, but something held her back. She had faced this type of discrimination too many times before and didn't want to start her first day on the job with a conflict. "You'll know soon enough," she said calmly, looking the younger officer in the eye. The senior officer, sensing the situation could escalate, intervened. "Let's not complicate things, ma'am. We can continue this if you feel it's necessary," he said, his tone a disguised threat. Naomi's patience was wearing thin. She had endured this type of treatment for years, based solely on her skin color. She took a deep breath. "Enough is enough," she said with authority. "I am Commissioner Naomi Carter. I suggest you reconsider how you are handling this situation." The shift in the atmosphere was immediate. The officers fell silent. The senior officer blinked in confusion, his frown deepening as the realization dawned. The younger officer's smile faded, replaced by surprise and a hint of panic. "You're the superior?" the senior officer stammered, clearly stunned. "Yes," Naomi replied firmly. "And I'd like to know the exact reason for this detention and why you're interrogating me like this." The officers were speechless. The younger officer attempted to justify the stop, but it was already too late. The power dynamic had shifted and both knew it. The senior officer cleared his throat, trying to regain his composure. "It must have been a misunderstanding." "This is not a misunderstanding," Naomi interrupted. "This is the problem. Officers like you stop people like me for no reason, make assumptions, and try to assert authority because you think you can act with impunity." The officer opened his mouth to respond but remained silent. Naomi's unwavering determination made it clear that she was in the right. "It's officers like you who make people lose confidence in the system," she continued. "And it's people like me who are here to change that." The officers stood in stunned silence. Naomi could feel the weight of the moment. This wasn't just about her. It was about everyone who had been unjustly detained or harassed because of someone's limited view of who belonged in certain places. She stepped out of the car, standing tall and resolute. "You'll report directly to me for the next few weeks," she said. "I'll review every traffic stop you make, and I suggest you give careful thought to how you conduct yourselves from now on." The senior officer, clearly trying to salvage the situation, stammered, "We didn't mean any disrespect, Chief. This won't happen again." Naomi nodded, but she knew those words were only an attempt to placate her. She knew it would happen again, maybe not with them, but with others. That was why she was there, to eradicate the ingrained prejudices within the department. She got back into her vehicle and drove away. A sigh of relief escaped her lips. She had won this battle, but she knew there were many more to come. Her role as commissioner wasn't just a title. It was a responsibility to ensure no one else would experience what she had just gone through. Later that day, Naomi held a meeting with the entire department. The tension in the room was palpable as she stood before the officers, her presence commanding their attention. She recounted the morning's events without omitting a single detail. "I'm not here to humiliate anyone," she said firmly, "but I am here to make it clear that this kind of attitude ends now. Every member of this department will be held responsible for how they treat the citizens of Cedar Ridge, regardless of their race, gender, or background." A murmur of discomfort ran through the room, but Naomi remained unflinching. She had dedicated her life to fighting for justice, and she wouldn't back down now. "This is your chance to prove that you are the kind of officers who serve with honor. But understand this, I will not tolerate prejudice. I will not tolerate disrespect. And I will not allow anyone to think they are above the law." Her words echoed in the room. Some officers shifted uncomfortably, while others nodded silently, showing their support. Naomi could identify those who backed her and those who didn't, but that didn't worry her. She was ready for whatever came next. Over the following weeks, Naomi's confrontation became a much talked about topic. For some, it was a sign that change was finally on the horizon. For others, it was an uncomfortable reminder of the deep-seated biases in the department. But Naomi knew this was just the beginning. She had only just begun her mission to reform a broken system. And as she walked away from those two embarrassed officers, she knew she was exactly where she was meant to be.